Hello everyone and welcome to the class of business study. So dear students, as you all know that we have finished 3 chapters of class 12th business study. Today we start with the 4th chapter, that is planning. Okay. Now this is part 1 of the chapter planning. Now these are the contents which we are going to finish, that is the meaning of planning, importance of planning and features of planning. Now first with the meaning of planning. As the name suggests, planning means to make plans, to chalk out plans. Okay. So every time for each and every activity, whether it is an economic activity or whether it is a non-economic activities, we need to chalk out something, some main points. That is what we are going to do, how we are going to do, that is the plans which is actually in our mind. So we need to decide for those plans, for making those activities successful. Say for example, if you are planning for a party, okay, your birthday party or any other occasion, or if you are wanted to have go for a picnic or outing. So you need to make a particular plan when you are shifting or you are going from one city to another city. Okay. So you need to chalk out the plans according to what will be the means of transportation, that is are you going by road or by airways or whatever. Okay. So you need to make out each and everything, your food, your residence, where you will reside, that is the hotels, the food, the means of transportation and so many other things, the places which you are going to view. So everything you need to decide first. Okay. So it in planning actually involves decision making, that is to decide what to do, how to do and when to do, all sort of things. So in business terms we can say planning can be defined as thinking in advance. That means whatever we need to do, we wanted to do, we need to think it in advance, that is before time we need to think that what we are going to do. So it is actually thinking something in advance, that is what is to be done, when it is to be done, that is the time or day, and how it is to be done and by whom it should be done. When we talk about business or organizations, so these 4 things we need to think about, that is any manager, the directors, the manager, the owner of the business or the businessman or the entrepreneur, he needs to decide all those activities which are done in a particular industry, factory, manufacturing sector, any place wherever some economic activities are done. So they need to think about what is to be done, that is what they wanted to produce, manufacture, what is to be done, when it is to be done, how it will be, that is it involves techniques or methods, that how the production will take place and by whom, that is who are the people involved in such kind of activities. As we can see that in industries and factories there are various departments, sections, divisions. So some employees are recruited at different departments. So which department or who are the employees who are going to perform those activities, it should be decided in advance only. According to Fayol, that is according to Henry Fayol, if you could remember we did principles of management. Okay, in our 2nd chapter, in which we talk about principles of management which were laid down by Henry Fayol. So according to Fayol, planning is chalking out, that is making out, planning out a plan of action. Plan of action means the activities or actions which you need to do, that is the result envisaged in the line of action, that is what will be the result, whatever you have planned for. Of course, when you are planning something, you must have certain aims or objectives before making the plans. So you wanted those results to be envisaged, to be followed, the stages to go through, the methods to use, and in which you need to think about the steps or the stages, in with which you go through to get the result or to get the aims or objectives fulfilled, in which you use certain methods or techniques. Now when we say planning, of course it has certain importance also. Now these are the importance of planning. Okay. The first is planning provides direction. Of course when we say planning, it is actually providing direction to many people who are involved in fulfilling those objectives, in doing or performing those tasks. Suppose in a business, okay, in any industries or factories or any office, wherever some job is being done. So there are certain people who are involved in performing certain activities. So the planning which we have made in advance, it actually gives a direction how to do that particular task. So planning provides the directions to the efforts of employees, that is whatever employees are making the efforts or doing the task, it involves certain directions, that is how to do that particular thing. Say for example, in a class, when you are in a school, when you have a sports period, the sports teacher is actually guiding you, directing you how to do all sort of things, or whatever sports you are playing. So he is directing you how to do certain tasks. The same way, the efforts, employees which are the employees who are making the efforts, the manager is chalking out a plan with which they get the direction to do the work. And planning makes clear what employees have to do and how to do. That is, it is planning, because of the planning which is there in written form. It is actually a instruction, guidance, or a kind of information for the employees that how to do the work, when to do it, and what kind of techniques they are going to do. Then second is, planning reduces the risk and uncertainty. That is, it is because of planning. As I said, if you have planned everything, then there is no chance of any loss, risk, problems or uncertainties. Fortunately or unfortunately, it can happen that you may face certain losses or certain problems or certain risk. But when you have planned, sought out a plan, and when you have planned everything, then there are less chances, or chances of risk are reduced. Okay. So it is because of planning which reduces the risk and uncertainties in the business. So planning helps the manager to face the uncertainties. That is, when the manager is making the plan beforehand, before facing certain problems or risk, he is deciding every strategy for it. That is, how to deal with certain loss, how to deal with certain risk. He is planning out or sorting out all the strategies. Strategies means clever plans he is making, that how, when I face certain problems, how I will deal with that problems or risk. So he is making all the plans beforehand and to face the uncertainties, because planners try to force the future by making some assumptions. That is, these planners are actually predicting the future. Okay, it is in their hands that they can predict the future if they have planned out everything, and he forces all the employees to follow that particular plan in a disciplined way, clearly, okay, properly. The plans are made to overcome uncertainty, and because of these plans which are made in advance or beforehand, they are actually helpful for clearing out the uncertainties, or to removing or reducing all the risk and uncertainties. Third is, planning reduces overlapping and wasteful movements. When we say overlapping, means repeatedly some movements. So all those movements which are repeatedly done, all those resources which are used, or if you are wasting the resources by using it again and again. So all these resources and wasteful movements can be reduced because of everything is planned out. So planning evaluates the alternatives. That is, it is planning which evaluates, okay, to analyze or to check out the alternative uses of the available and prospective resources. That is, as we know that resources can have many uses. Any activity or any work or task which is given, there are many ways to perform that task. There are many alternatives or options available. So it is what kind of option or alternative we are going to choose. So it is decided by all the managers. That is, the manager will decide how to use the resources, that is the quantity, and how we are going to use those resources, so that waste should not be done of all the resources, maximum utilization can be done, and there will not be any overlapping and wasteful movement of the employees also, and with which they can actually achieve the objectives of the business and makes their most appropriate use, and they can make their use in an appropriate one. Now fourth is, planning promotes innovative ideas. Innovative means something new. Okay, it is because of planning, it is promoting or encouraging or motivating some new ideas. Whenever you are planning, like say for example, if you are a manager, you are in the same business, in the same organization with the same firm, every time you need to make plans, because planning is something which is continuous process. Okay, it is not a one time job or one time affair. Okay, so when you are making constantly or continuously, you are making plans, every time you will bring some certain new ideas, certain innovative ideas, methods or techniques, so that it will affect your quality of the product, the production will be good, the quantity of production will be good, and so many other things. You can reduce the cost or expenses. So every time a manager is trying with some new ideas or innovative ideas, So planning requires high thinking and it is an intellectual. That is because of in planning what a manager is supposed to do, he is making high thinking. High thinking means it's an intellectual process. We are using our brains to chalk out certain plans and with which he is thinking about all those ideas, all those alternatives which can be done in making those plans. So it makes the managers innovative and creative, and because of these planning, with the help of these planning, when he is constantly or continuously making these plans, his creativity is increased, his skill will be increased and he will be very innovative. And these innovation and creativeness will be going to help in the firm in increasing the productivity and even the efficiencies of the manager as well as the employees. Planning facilitates decision making. That is, it is planning which is facilitating making decisions which is taken by the manager, and to look into the future and make a choice from amongst various alternative courses of action. That means there are various courses or there are various alternative or options available for doing a certain task. Just like I said, that for doing a particular task there can be various options, there can be various methods or technique. It is manager who will decide about that which technique we need to use. Either it can be labor intensive technique, either it can be capital intensive technique. So planning actually facilitates, it is giving a facility for making the decision. Planning actually is what? It is decision making only, which we are doing beforehand or in advance. Planning establishes standard for controlling. That is controlling which is very necessary in an organization. Now what we are going to control, that is the manager or the director or owner is going to control the expenses, going to control the waste of the resources, wasteful movements of the employees, and so many other things which an owner, which an businessman needs to control so that he can achieve the objective smoothly and so that he can have maximum profit or gain. So there are certain problems which they need to control, okay, or eliminate. So it is planning which is establishing some standards. Standards means it is giving certain rules, regulations, certain limitations for the employees to behave. Just like if you are in a school, there are certain standards in the school, that is some rules, some regulations which all the students as well as the staff which we need to follow, so that for the smooth running of the school. Same way it has predetermined goal, that means all the organization has a predetermined goal with which the actual performances are compared to find out the deviation. That is, the actual performance is compared with the performance which we have planned for. That is, the manager is actually planning certain performance of the employees, that the employee should do this, the employee should achieve these target and so on. Now what he is actually doing, so there are certain differences, okay. So these differences need to be sought out by the manager. When manager studies or observe or supervise the work of the employees, and then he sets certain standards. So those employee needs to fulfill those standards, he need to follow those rules, regulation, and whatever task is given to them, they need to complete those tasks in that particular time which is fixed by the managers. So planning actually helps the manager to see that what are the differences between the actual performance and the planned performance, and if there are certain differences, he needs to chalk out those differences or remove those differences. Now some features of planning after importance. Now features, we can say characteristics of planning. Planning focuses on achieving objectives, that it is planning which is focusing on achieving, just like I said, why a manager or why a firm is planning out everything, just to achieve their objectives, achieve their aims. So beforehand or in advance they are making certain plans, that what to do, how to do, when to do, and who will be involved in that work. So planning focuses basically on achieving the objectives, achieving or attaining or getting or fulfilling the objectives or aims. So planning is purposeful, that means we are doing planning or we are engaged in the activities of planning which is purposeful, with certain purpose, with certain reason we are making the plans, okay. And what is the reason or purpose? To achieve the profit, to achieve more benefit, fulfill the objectives of the organization. It has no meaning unless it contributes to the achievement of predetermined organization goals. That is, besides this, there is no other purpose of doing planning. Planning is just done because to fulfill the objectives properly, and all the predetermined organization goals can be achieved with the help of making plans. Planning is a primary function of management. Of course, there are various functions of management which we have discussed in the first chapter. It is planning, organizing, directing, staffing, controlling. But the first function of management is always planning. Any task, any activity besides business, okay, in our common or general life, okay, in our life also, if we are wanted to do something, the first thing which we need to do is making decisions. That is, making out certain plans or strategies for doing those tasks. So, planning is the first or primary function of management. Planning is the primary or first function to be performed by every manager. That is, it is actually supposed to be done by every manager, each and every manager, whether the organization is small or big, profitable or non-profitable organization. In each kind of institution, organization where a group of people are working, they need to sort out or chalk out certain plans. And who is doing this planning activities? That is manager, done by managers. No other function can be executed by the manager without performing planning. That is, without planning out anything, any function cannot be performed. Just like if you are planning for a party, you have not planned out anything. Which day, when, what will be the time, what will be the venue, what will be the food, whom you are going to invite. So, suddenly you can't do everything, okay, and without planning out you cannot perform, their function cannot be possible, okay, activities cannot be possible, okay, because people don't know who are being invited, okay, what will be the food which is to be served. So, all sort of things in ordinary life also and in business also. So, planning is the first and foremost function which is to be performed by the manager before performing other activities, and other functions cannot be possible if planning is not there. Planning is pervasive then. Pervasive means it is prevalent everywhere, it is spread everywhere, it is an universal concept which we say. Just like I said, if you are planning out a party, if you are going for a picnic, if you are opening a school, if you are doing anything, you need to make out certain plans. So, it is an universal concept, universal application is there for planning. It is pervasive, it is essential for every sort of business activities, that is whatever the nature of business is. It can be doing farming, that is if it is primary industries, if it is secondary industry, it is tertiary, that is service sector, then also you need to make out plans. So, every department, whether purchase, that is whether it is a purchase department, sales department, accounts, auditing, marketing, any other area in any organization, there is a need or urgent requirement of planning. Without planning, the work cannot be completed. Now, fourth is planning is continuous. As I said, planning is a continuous affair. It is a never ending process. It is not a one time affair. Okay. In every organization, every year they are making certain plans. Every year they are changing their strategies, just because this is competitive world. There is a lot of competition in the market. Many new brands, many new companies are there in the market. Every time the customer wants something new. Okay. So, to fulfill the customer satisfaction, to attract more and more customer for better gain, better profit, it is very necessary for the firm, any firm or company, that they need to check out or change their strategies, change their plans every time. They need to supervise, they need to monitor all the activities which have been done in the business environment, okay, and they need to adapt those changes, and because of which, with which they need to make out plans. So, planning is never ending process, every time you need to make a plan. So, planning is a never ending or continuous process, because after making plans also one has to be touched with the changes. Of course, this is also very important, that if you have laid down certain plans, but you are not watching that whether people or employees or staff members are following those plans or not, that is, work is being done according to the actual performance or not. So, when you are making plans, the manager needs to see, needs to assign this particular work to various supervisor, the coordinators, the people who are there to monitor the activities, whether all the activities in the organization are actually done according to the plans or not. If they are not following the plans, that means the goals will not be achieved. So it is very necessary, after making the plans, the work is not over. The manager's work, just making plans, the manager's work is not over. Okay, so because after making plans, they need to monitor, they need to supervise that and keep in touch with the changes in changing environment and in the selection of the best way. Then they need to keep in touch with the environment, the latest changes which have been been in the trend in the environment. Say for example, a fashionable industries like fashionable garment industry is there. So they need to be in touch with the environment, with the latest trend, latest fashion which are taking place in the market with the customers. So they need to adapt those changes, then only they can put those fashions or trends in their clothing. If they are putting this, then only these fashionable clothes will be in demand and customers will be attracted and customer will be going to purchase more and more product. Why? Because the products are very fashionable according to trend. Okay. So they need to be touched in with the environment also. Then planning is futuristic. When we say futuristic means it is looking to the future. That means whenever we are making plans, we are actually trying to predict the future. Just like I said, the manager before making the plans, he is predicting the future and according to the future changes, he is making the plans. So planning always means looking ahead. That means planning is always done by looking ahead what is to be done. Okay, these are my aims, these are my objectives, and accordingly the manager needs to make the plans. Okay, so it is never for the past. We are not looking to the past. Planning is done for the future. Of course, the manager before making the plans, he is studying the past also. That is whatever past experiences, if the past experiences were not good, were bad experiences, that is the firm have incurred certain losses. So they need to see those losses. So by those past experiences, managers need to learn something and accordingly they need to make the plan for the future. So all the managers try to make predictions and assumptions for future. That means it is the duty of all the managers to predict the future, to make assumptions about the future, and then only they need to make the plans. Planning involves decision making. Of course, what is planning? As I said in the meaning itself, planning involves lot of making decisions. That is lot of decisions the manager needs to make. He needs to decide each and every aspect. There are various departments in the organization, various employees in the department. So he need to judge, he need to decide that what work is to be done, by whom, who will do that particular work, how he will do. So each and every sort of activity requires some decision making. That is planning, choice making of the best possible, and there are as I said, there are various alternative or options available in the plans. So he need to see that which plan or which alternative or option will be the best for my organization. So accordingly he need to make plans. Just like if you have decided for a party, so you need to see that which venue will be the best suitable venue for my party, and what will be the food, and so many other things. So you wanted something best for your party, so that a good feedback will be given, will be heard. Okay. So planning involves decision making. That means it is always making decisions about the future. Okay, so this is all about features and importance and meaning of the planning. So see you soon in the next video with some other concepts. Till then, thank you. Goodbye.